Thanks, Rasha. Thanks, Hussein. If you recall the first session this morning on influencer marketing, it was discussed about the authenticity is really important on social media, and it's great to see Snapchat are putting that core to their design. Evan Spiegel, the founder, recently said celebrities are not your friends, therefore they're going to be separate on Snapchat, and Hussein echoed that as well. And I don't think that Snapchat get enough credit in the media in general for the responsibility that they take over content. In addition to selecting publishers, they also work with legal companies to make sure that there isn't fake news or bad influence on the platform. So as much as all the negativity around change, they're also doing great stuff on the platform. Now we're moving to the last session before lunch. It's a keynote talk. We're going to be looking at curation versus saturation. Why less is sometimes more important. Please welcome Nathan Hull, Chief Commercial and Content Officer from Bookchoice.
Hello, everyone. Please stay awake. Lunch isn't too far away. I'm going to try and tackle a couple of topics in just 20 minutes. Just with some terminology, you'll hear me using the word publisher in a slightly different way to some of the sessions already. Largely, I'll be meaning that in the sense of books, but these could be printed books, ebooks, audiobooks, but books. But I'll try and contextualize it so it's more relevant to content producers, whether you may be from music, from game, from film, from TV, anything else. I think there's still a relevance, even though I'm predominantly talking about books. So thank you to ArabNet for the invitation to speak. It's been a long time coming to come to Beirut. I've traveled a lot throughout the region. As I said in a brief intro yesterday, the level of innovation and energy from the region in general has always been a source of inspiration to me. And what we're looking at here isn't limited to the markets we're live in. So I come from the music industry originally, then into books. These are questions we ask ourselves at Bookchoice. But this could, as I said, be relevant to music, game, film, TV, anything. So substitute the word publisher for record company, TV producer, anything else. We always ask, what would the consumer think? Why should I read? Question one. We try and keep it simple. How do I find the right book? We always think, what does a publisher want to do? They want to know how to generate new revenue streams and how to reach new readers. And then as Bookchoice, we have two questions of our own, where they fall into one. How do we find the right model to satisfy both the publisher and the author and the reader? And that's the challenge. Predominantly in our space, but the same again, music, TV, everything else, there's a proliferation of access models. All you can eat, all you can listen, all you can read, all you can watch. It's no different in the book space with all you can read models. I've previously done this in the past. It is successful if you get the business model right, but I firmly believe there's room for both. So within Bookchoice, we've flipped it completely, and we do a curated service. We remove the chore for the consumer. You sit with your devices, your smartphones, your tablets, anything else you use, and you're bombarded with a plethora of choices for what your entertainment medium should be. And then once you decide you want to read a book or you want to watch a TV show, then where'd you go? Statistically, through lots and lots of research, we know most people listen to the same old stuff. You like a certain type of music, certain bands. You like certain TV shows, certain genres, and you go down this channel. So we flipped it. We do all the work for you, and we choose just 8 books per month. When we're pitched against our competitors, I like the line, we give you 8 books you do want, not tens of thousands you don't. We remove the chore. Even major organizations who've moved into technical, evolutionary, revolutionary, whatever you want to call it, algorithmic solutions for personalized recommendation, it can work, but I think there's nothing like the human recommendation, which is what comes from our team. I read a lot in print as well, and I still take my recommendations from my local bookshop. I walk in, over years, I've got to trust this anonymous person, whoever it might be, that works there, who chooses the books, and writes a little tag about why he likes that book. And I'll buy 1 or 2 here and there. So this is what we're getting into. Our model is really simple, looking at those answers we want to provide. We want to provide a revenue stream. We want to provide reach. The microphone represents audio, which I'll get onto. I think it's particularly interesting in MENA. And we want to supply data. Data is quite an odd word to be used in publishing houses. They know they want it. They don't really know what they mean by it. And largely, they don't get it from anyone. Traditionally, most book publishers get given some money, and they get given a distribution arm. With Bookchoice, we do the audio part, which I'll come on to, marketing reach, which is the second part of what I'll talk about around brands and the relevance here, and then data. So this curative concept, the dictionary definition, using acts of selection and arrangement to add value. So this is this idea about how sometimes less is more. Goes completely against the grain of some of what you will have heard today. I know that. And thanks to Rasha, she used the line, how a picture can speak 1,000 words. I'm going to tell you about how words can speak more than pictures. Our platform is about access to everyone still. So it's still about mobile, it's still about tablets, it's about laptops, any connected device, even e-ink readers. I know they're not huge in this part of the world, but your standard black and white Kindle, this works. It's still on about reaching the masses, but with a curative approach. Now, a musical hero of mine, it's a long bit of text, but David Byrne, the front man of Talking Heads, framed this. I'll let you read it slowly as I'm reading it. If he had said this slightly more concisely, I'd maybe use it as a motto for our company. But it really, really starts to emphasize this point from a creative person, a creative source, about how do you project real quality and real value above the noise. Everything that is out there, whether it be in your book world, TV shows, games, anything else. How do you do that? How do you set your head above the rest? So I'll tell you about how we do it. And this is where I think there's a relevance with brands and the integration of content within that. We target a number of sectors. For us, this is about working with brands and partners in we're in 14 different countries. We're in Dutch, English, Spanish, so we stretch into Colombia, into Mexico, Australia, South Africa, and then, obvious parts of Europe. I should emphasize, now I'm here in Lebanon, we are distinctly doing our research to make a version of this available in Arabic. A huge challenge underway, as you can well understand better than I, in terms of even what Arabic actually would feel like. Sectors, we work with telecoms, we work with hardware manufacturers, we work with insurance companies, energy suppliers, employee benefit schemes. We work with grocery stores, FMCG brands. We're about to do an enormous campaign on something like 20 million plus chocolate bars in a couple of months' time. And gradually, maybe some other markets have got different levels of maturity, but people are starting to see books as sexy. Doesn't have to be music, with these superstar names and faces attached to everything. Generally, consumers, the people on the street, like to engage with exciting content, and stories stimulate everyone. And by that, I don't mean a book. Everything we do in terms of our entertainment that we ingest is entertainment. Playing a game on your phone is a story. There is a narrative arc in a game. There's a narrative arc in TV, movies. There's a narrative arc in most albums that you listen to, or even just in one song. So the world is no different in that sense. This example is around simple on-pack promotion. In general, most of the brands we work with want to achieve one of two things. They want to reward loyalty to their customer base, their existing customer base. We provide an easy solution with that. Or they want to compete with their competitors. They want to have a point of difference with and a competitive advantage. Some very strange examples. When I first came along, we were talking about petrol stations. I was thinking, books, petrol stations? This is where the audio side of things started to come in. I've just sat in traffic for over an hour this morning in Beirut. That's fine. But if I'd been driving, I'd have been more bored than someone visiting the city for the first time and looking around at everything new. The best thing to do? Put on an audiobook. Why not? I know they're not an established format in any way, shape, or form here in the Middle East. But everybody listens to something. You listen to the spoken word. Actually, from an outsider's perspective, visiting many other countries in the region, I tend to believe that it feels like a culture that's born of storytelling. And it might be verbally, that when you're growing up as a kid, you're being told stories and you're letting, your parents or your grandparents are setting your imaginations to run wild. That's storytelling. And to bring that into the modern space, whether it be with a novel or with textbooks or with educational books or scripture, whatever it would be, I feel audio is a huge opportunity. And then to leverage that against something as obscure to me from Bookworld as a petrol station, did it make sense? Suddenly it made a load of sense. Similarly, travel companies. We work with, I think, 5 different national rail services now in various different countries. Organizations such as the rail companies or airlines, they want to engage consumers. They want a reason for someone to choose their train or their plane service over something else. In-flight entertainment doesn't have to, or in-train entertainment doesn't have to remain locked to that screen that's there with whatever kind of limited offering it has. It could be on device, on their own consumer's device. They can consume at their will, on their device when they want to, but it's been provided by the brand. Similar with kind of travel and movement in mind, exactly the same thought goes into place with hotels. People, generally, you're either working, you stay in a hotel, you need to switch off. Or you're traveling, you're on leisure, you're on a holiday, you want to relax. Everyone I know likes to take a book on holiday. There's an argument to say you don't need to take printed books and fill your suitcase or your hand luggage anymore. You can have it on your device, ebook, audiobook, whatever it might be. Hotels love this as a concept. Coffee chains, again, just another example about where people have time. They're sitting down, they're having a nice warm drink, they may be with friends, they might be taking some time out on their own. It's about finding the appropriate means of communicating with a potential consumer for Bookchoice via an appropriate brand to an appropriate type of consumer. And to be clear on all this, this isn't about us finding the biggest databases of consumers to reach. When we engage with a brand partner, it's about then listening to them, learning about their consumers, learning about their desires, their wishes, and how they want to speak to their consumers and what they're trying to aim at. And that could be, we could speak to someone with a database of 3 million people. That may or may not be valuable. But we might pull it back and decide actually only 50,000 of their consumers are the ones that are mutually beneficial to both Bookchoice and the brand to speak to. And we want to find non-readers. We want to find lapsed readers, just the potential people who may have a disposition to consuming their media, entertainment media digitally. They have a smartphone or tablet, so maybe this is something different to speak to them about. And I'll be very transparent about how this works for us. We create a campaign with a partner. We've been doing it for 4 years, very successfully, but it's about finding an appropriate brand against appropriate content and then the appropriate methodology to communicate with them. That could be in print, it could be SMS, it could be direct emails, it could be push notifications, it could be a live event, it could be on-pack, it could be in-store. Ideally, it would be a mixture of those things. The best methods we have found in Northern Europe, in Latin America, and across Spain and Germany have been a mixture of direct email campaign, where we're the only message communicated, not as a mixture, coupled with print. It's by far the most active method. And in general, and these numbers I think are pretty significant, we will convert 7% of those people we engage with into a free trial. Therefore, we've done the work with the brand. The brand have given the gift of Bookchoice. Generally, it's a 1-month offer, which will be 8 ebooks and 8 audiobooks that people can keep forever if they want, or they can just access them from an app. And then our job, our business model, is to convert, we put them in this funnel, they're in a trial, and we then need to convert a percentage into becoming a paid member. In the Eurozone, we're $3.99. So it's a super low, attractive price point, which has been a very, very hard negotiation with publishers. Generally, a printed book in some markets is seen as something quite elitist. It's seen as something, understandably, people want to protect. They don't want the drive to the bottom, particularly in the markets where Amazon is so aggressive and you can buy books for 99 cents. They want to protect against it. But because they believe and understand in our method of trying to reach new consumers, new readers, instead of just cannibalizing existing readers, the $3.99 price point becomes attractive. But to a brand, we're not really talking about the $3.99. It's transparent, it's there. But for a brand to be able to give away 8 books, 8 audiobooks in English pounds is at least 100 to 120 pounds as a gift, straight to their customers. So I touched on audio a little bit, and it's going to be incredibly complex. It's complex enough for us in Spanish. Buying a book in Spanish, easy. Global Spanish rights, we do a negotiation, but in principle, the legalities are quite simple. The challenge, and I imagine, from the little I know so far, the challenges may be quite similar in Arabic. Spanish, yes, there's a global language. It's kind of interchangeable as you go country to country. The accents are completely different, region by region within a country. The dialect, the vocabulary can be different, market by market. And I see the same challenge ahead with Arabic, of course. So we have thought ahead with what the solutions might be for this. So to fulfill this, and this is for all markets, we record everything at Pinewood. It's about future planning. Pinewood, for those of you who don't know, it's like the UK's Hollywood. It's the home of James Bond, Star Wars. Most of the Disney films are now created there. And one day, I got the pleasant surprise of a call from the guy who does all the sound effects on Star Wars. And I was like a small child all over again. I got an invitation to go, of course. But what I wasn't expecting was the guy to ask me if he could make an audiobook for me. It's when I used to work at Penguin Books. And of course I said yes. And he came out with the most phenomenal recording I think I'd ever heard. It's for a Roald Dahl book. For those, Roald Dahl's probably the most prestigious children's author. For those of you who don't know, maybe you've seen the Willy Wonka movies or something like this. But to have that in an audiobook form with some sound effects, they don't need sound effects, but it was appropriate. It's always about what's appropriate. And to have that brought to life in a completely different way, and then to suddenly see the way in which kids would associate themselves and immerse themselves in a story that they may or may not have as a written book was something really outstanding to me. And simply put, the guy was the biggest audiobook geek I've ever met. So he did one book, then I gave him the rest of Roald Dahl's backlist, did an amazing job with Hollywood A-listers reading these books. Didn't have to be, it's just, again, appropriate. It's what's the appropriate voice for the story. Since then, they've now opened up to record all sorts of things, the whole Harry Potter series, etc. I know both those examples are about kids' books, but they do everything. The best thing for me about these guys is they have 53 studios around the world. They know exactly what they're doing. For it's about finding an absolutely appropriate medium. If we're going to tackle audiobooks in a very serious fashion to come into any market. And I knew there's a degree of comfort there because of what they already do in gaming and movies in Arabic as well. So that's my very quick snapshot of some ideas around the curation versus saturation. Access models are amazing. I got a phone full of access models, but I continuously get lost. So I play the easy game. I just listen to what I know I listen to. I watch what I watch. Now, I read what someone else is telling me, but in a good way. And it's about building a little bit of trust with our consumers around that over time. And it's proven very, very successful as a completely flipped model. And I think we're starting to see that even more. Even Amazon now, with all of the might and the power and the technology they have, they switched from human curation and human choice to completely automated systems. Amazon have now gone back. There is a mixture of real people, humans, sitting there. They're still telling a machine what to display on a screen, but there's a real blend there. So if these giants are moving back, I think that says something already. And then again, about how you then tailor this content, the content offer. whether you're in whichever format of publishing you are, even if you're someone publishing your own content, like we heard from Snapchat just now, it's about being, in my view, about being selective with what you publish and then how you publish. And if you're going to, from our perspective, come through a platform to do it, it's about then how we engage with the brands to show them that we have the right kind of content, the right way of engaging with their consumers. And it's incredibly difficult with 8 books per month, just 8. How do we find 8 titles that suit everyone in this room? Because you're all going to have different tastes. But we know, because we're a data company as well, most people don't read more than 2 books in a month on our platform. Of course, there will be people that will read 9 or 10 books in a month. That's fine. They're probably not a Bookchoice consumer. But on our platform, we know it's going to be 2 maximum. So the way we think of it is, as long as there's 2 books for everyone, then our customers are happy. And that's the feedback we get. And it's mainstream. There's in the UK, Spain, in Netherlands, it's crime, it's thrillers, it's suspense, a little bit of romance, a little bit of YA, some science fiction, maybe the odd autobiography or something like that. These things we tailor market by market so we understand. But again, ultra focused. And I think with that focus brings an understanding from the brands that there's something really relevant. When we say we will deliver X, we don't deviate from the X because we know what works for us. If that can work for the brand, amazing. Of course, there's always a conversation. If it can't work for the brand, then maybe we just don't have an aligned set of thoughts. And in an ideal world, those relationships grow into something super strong, where these aren't one-off campaigns where we just do one mail shot or one SMS engagement with a consumer base. It's about elongated relationships as well. So we have a number of those in place, particularly from the telecoms. They're slightly more mature the world over, I think, in the way they think, in terms of content relationships, particularly with movies and music, but it's becoming more and more prevalent now in the book space as well. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I know I don't have any time, and there's always that embarrassing moment if you say, anyone got any questions, and then no one raises their hands. So I'm not going to give you the opportunity. I'll just be hanging around, looking at all the clever stuff outside. Come and find me. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to chat. Thank you.
Net for putting together a keynote around one of the kind of big trends in digital this year. Great, it's lunchtime, so take a break. Be back here at 2 o'clock. The room will fill up, and we've got loads of fireside chats, CEO series, and panels this afternoon. Remember to download the app. You still have time to vote. If you heard the startup challenge yesterday, you still have time to vote for the User Choice Award. And see you back here at 2 o'clock.